Welcome back to the channel and episode 8. And this episode finds me leaving my accommodation in Llubljana and heading towards the border and heading over the border to Austria. I'm going to be having a great ride again today because so far the weather's great, and this is going to be the last day because the closer I get to Austria, the closer I get to Germany, the worse the weather is going to get, and I'm aware of that. So I am going to totally enjoy the weather for now and see how lucky I get and for how long. It's such a gamble, you know. The weather looks so wonderful now, and it is wonderful. I've got like about a 25 degree, it's early in the morning, I've got about 25 degrees, there's virtually no wind, there's virtually no, there are a few clouds, but it's blue sky, sun and blue sky, and it's look at the colours, look at the way the sun brings the colour out and the beauty of the landscape, and look what's ahead of me, mountains. They're in the distance, they're a long way away, but they're there. And that it's such a lovely sight, you know, just to see something on the horizon, something other than just sky, which is of course what I'm used to in the Netherlands. So you can always rely on bike. If you see a lot of bikers on the road, you can pretty much guarantee that the weather is going to be good. Unless they're returning from a rally or a holiday or something, you know, and they're just riding because they have to. It's a funny thing, really, isn't it? You know, bit of decent weather, and the roads are like this. Wow, you can't really ask for more. You know, some people just aren't happy. I'm happy with this. This is my perfect holiday, pastime, riding. Yeah, the feeling of having an open road in front of you, especially when they're not familiar roads, to be honest. Roads that you're riding for the first time, so around every corner it's a surprise, and that's the fun of riding long distances, because you're in territory you've never ridden before, roads you've never ridden before, and it's endless. There are thousands and thousands of roads still left to be ridden. And you know, I really would like to be one of the people that gets to ride them all. Just not possible. It's not possible. Not in one lifetime. It just isn't. Yes, the weather. I can see already in the distance that the weather is changing, and it is unfortunately in the direction that I'm going. But thankfully it's dry now, because what you don't expect happens at the most unexpected moments. You can see there's damage. They've been working on the roads, and there's a pattern, quite a big pattern actually. A lot of the damage is where there are waterfalls or bridges, that kind of thing. And I'm not sure quite, you know, there are whole stretches of roads that literally have no asphalt on them, and you're going at, you know, the advised speed, shall we say, and suddenly the road changes, and it's you have to go from like 70 or 80 or whatever it was you were doing to 30, and you think, yeah, now the trip's going to take a little bit longer than the plan was. And bomb, there it goes. It's an 8-centimetre drop. Bomb. And at that moment you're thinking, I'm so glad that it's dry. Yeah, 30, I can imagine, yeah. If you came here at night and came around that corner, there's no lighting here, there's no markings on the road, it's a two-way road, it's a narrow road, not made any better by the sort of bollards they've got to warn people, obviously, that the road's not good. Like you don't know, but this would be an absolute nightmare in the wet, and it did go on for actually quite a long time, but yeah, you know, eventually you rejoin the main road and it's all paved again. So back up to the normal speeds. But yeah, you know, you can never predict what's around the corner. And this was a great look. Ta-da! Another Ryker. And you don't see them often. And I think that was a woman. I think it was. Difficult to tell under all the gear, of course, but not wearing gloves. But it is warm. You know, it's a lovely day. So, but I just prefer to be protected. You just never know, do you? Something to run out of the forest, or you know, you just never know. I just prefer to protect myself. See the weather. Yeah, it plays a huge part actually in the whole trip, as much as the motor does. The weather. Coming down, I had bad weather and I didn't really get the chance to do the Slovenian mountain passes. It's a majestic sight, it really is, and the next time, and there will be a next time, I want to do all of them. I think I will spend a week doing nothing but the Alpine region in Slovenia because it is so worth it. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And now, again today, the weather is not great and I have another route in my head and I have to follow it. Otherwise I would have quite happily have stayed here for another couple of days just to do the mountain range. You know, it's spectacular, and a lot of people don't even think about Slovenia as having a mountain range, but of course it does, and a very beautiful one. Once over the Austrian border, it actually takes you into the foothills. A lot of the mountains are covered in greenery, you know, they just are. And I get carried away with that. Mountain roads and trees, and I'll just go for it. This was the one occasion that I should have been looking more carefully at the petrol tank before doing that. Because I went for the next 2 hours and I was starting to sweat. The petrol was just finished. I was on the light and I stopped here to check the navigation and to just see how far the nearest petrol station was, because I seriously did not think I was going to make it. And right at the end of this street, through this amazingly quaint, cute Austrian village, is a petrol station, hopefully open still, a place to get coffee and a place to sit down so that I can recount everything that's just happened, including thinking I was about to run out of petrol, and looking for an accommodation because I'm ready for it. This has been a wonderful ride today, but it's been a very, very long one, and having the sweat drips running down my neck from the panic that I'm about to run out of petrol and not knowing where the next village was or anything, or not even having the navigation on, to be honest. So I'm glad the road came out here, and what a result. Gorgeous. I mean, you know, if there's ever a village that says, well, what colour do you fancy? It's this one. There are artworks. It's just a lovely place, and I think I might look around here, see if there's something. Oh, look at the bikes. The bikes and look around here and see if there's something local, because there's a river here, which means there could be a waterfall. And I mean, look at the houses. I just love the atmosphere here. It's so chill. You know, it's very quiet, and there it is. I don't think I've ever been so glad to see a petrol station, and there it all is, coffee place to sit down, petrol. Oh, what a result. So, with accommodation found, 15 kilometres away, it's staying dry for me. I actually get to eat dinner in the garden with sun, and then it changes. Oh boy, did it change. And I was hoping that after breakfast it might have improved. yeah, did it improve? No. In fact, it almost got worse. But looking at the weather, I was thinking I could outride it. I could see which way well, there was no wind, but in principle, the direction that the weather was travelling. And I had just had the feeling that if I played it right, I might just get away with arriving at the next accommodation dry. Wishful thinking. Totally wishful thinking. It does improve, but not until I'm soaked to the skin and onto my third pair of gloves. It was wet and it really did not stop. It just didn't. And just a little note about accommodation, actually. In Austria and Germany, I prefer to go for what they call a Gasthof, which is almost like a sort of more of a family-run house, generally with bars and or restaurants that are not just open for breakfast in the morning, but do include in breakfast in the price. They're just general, it's all under one roof and they're smaller scale. Look at the detail in that house. It's just, it's just tends to, I find them more friendly, and hotels tend to be a bit stuffy, and a lot of the Gasthof buildings tend to be in this kind of area, so they're out of the cities, but because they include restaurants, they're generally okay, or can even be very good, as was this one. I just miss the atmosphere of staying in a Gasthof, and literally, you feel like you're dealing with real people, and not just like an automated system. There is such a difference, and it makes a difference, because when you've had this kind of day, after riding this kind of day, what you're actually looking for is comfort. You want a comfortable bed, you want a hot shower, the promise of a good breakfast in the morning, and dinner. And it's the best beer of the day. The first, and sometimes also the last. I'm not a big drinker, but just to have that first beer, and if it's a local one, even better. Yeah, that's something else. It's another sort of string to the bow. I like, if I can, I like to sample the local beer, and if there is a local recipe, and the combination, and that's something. It's part of the memory, I've discovered some amazing beers on the way, and I'm not a big beer drinker, but just different to the stuff that you get at home, and I live in the Netherlands, so I'm sure you'll understand that. One of the biggest saving graces today is it might be wet. Well, it might be. It is very wet. But it's not cold. It's still around 22, 23 degrees. So as much as I'm getting wet, completely wet, again to my unmentionables, and I've had days like these before, it's just not cold. So that makes it slightly more bearable. Anybody that rides will understand that. It's a saving grace. Today, of all days, it's a saving grace, because I'm actually quite tired. Yesterday was a long day, and today is same kind of riding distance, not so taxing, because there's not so many bends and things. This is more of a straight through kind of road. Views are great, but the weather's is not great, shall we say. It's not. Look what a difference, huh? I talk about the weather. What a difference it would make right now to the colour of the water if the sun was shining and it was blue sky. It has dried up a bit. It's not raining. It's in the wind, but it's not raining like it was. It has dried up a little bit. So my last push through to the hotel in Austria is looking like I'm going to get there dry-ish. Not counting the 3 pairs of gloves I've already gone through, of course. but just the fact that the ground is dry, that helps big time, because it means that the cars in front of me are not picking up. You know, generally if it's raining, it's not just the rain, you're getting it from everywhere. You know, anything that slurps off the top of a lorry, or anything that is being thrown up by the wheels of a car, or whatever's in front of you, you are going to get double time. So it just, yeah, this is great. You know, it's not hot. In fact, these conditions are actually ideal, as long as it stays dry. Just dry. I'm not asking for too much, am I? And to be honest, I shouldn't really complain, because my route started off basically from the Roadtrip in connection with the weather. You know, it was rubbish. It was rubbish then, and it's still rubbish. Well, it's not that bad. I mean, at least it's dry at the moment. But I'm hoping, again, I've got one eye on the weather all the time. So making the decisions as to what routes I'm taking and when, on what day, is also determined by the weather. I will quite happily ride, you know, 100 kilometres slightly in the wrong direction, and then heading north and south, or wherever I was planning on going, purely to avoid bad weather. And that pays off sometimes, you know, maybe not in petrol, but certainly in the enjoyment of the ride. And that, to be honest, is why I'm doing it. If it was purely about destinations, I'd fly, you know, maybe hire something when you get there. You know, that way you can guarantee that you've covered all the distance, you haven't had to ride it, it's all, you know. But for me, it is the ride, it's the roads, it's the ride, it's the discovering new roads that I've never ridden, and that for me is where the enjoyment comes from, and especially when there's nobody on the road in front of me and there is nobody on the road behind me. It just gives you that, well, literally the king of the road feeling. It sounds so cliched, right? But it isn't. The feeling it gives you when you've got an open road in front of you and you're riding into places you've never been to before, you just can't describe it. I'm still in Austria. I'm stopping over for one night at the hotel where I've been many times before. One of my favourite little stopping places. It's in Altmunster, and I'm only staying here for one night. There's a couple of other places that I'm going to be visiting, kind of on the way home, but kind of not directly on the way home. Just being back in the hotel, you know, I've been on the road for a month, and when I think about everything that's happened in the last month, and seeing friends again, and just experiencing all the things that you've done, you know, the things you've seen, and the fun I've had, and the friends you've made, and the people you've met, and it's just, you know, it's the whole bubble really, you know, and being back here at the hotel, it brings us all back, all the memories, you know, and it just reminds you of really how lucky you are, and to have the opportunity to do this is a godsend, and it's just something I just want to share, you know, and the possibilities. And if you didn't do it yet, subscribe and like and hit the notification bell. Do all that, please.